Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, and today we are finally able to talk about the Tobii Eye Tracker 5 as well as a sweepstake option that you can get to win some really cool prizes, including a Tobii Eye Tracker 5, and we're going to talk about how good this thing really is and if it's worth all the hype. Stick around to find out more. If you are interested in acquiring any of my Overkills tutorial guides or simply interested in supporting the channel, please consider joining me on Patreon. Patreon subscribers level tier 2 and above have access to all of my guides as well as any future guides that come along down the road. Patreon link can be found in the description below, and thank you to all of my current subscribers. All right, guys, so as we get started here, let's first talk about one of the really cool things that's currently happening with Tobii. So first off, there is a flash sale going on, 15% off the Tobii Eye Tracker 5 for a limited time. Make sure that you guys get on this one if you want to save a bit of cash on the Tobii Eye Tracker. There's also a very awesome sweepstake going on, guys. You have all of these different options here in which you can create entries in order to win some prizes. One of those being, it could be a base copy of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Let me just accept that. There we go. And then the other one could actually be the Tobii Eye Tracker itself. So they have a bunch of really cool opportunities here, guys, for you to get to start participating with the Tobii Eye Tracker 5. And you guys are going to find out what's going on with all of that here in just a minute. I just wanted to make sure to share this with you guys, and there will be a link to both of these pages down in the description below if you guys are interested in checking this stuff out. I highly recommend you take a peek at it and then watch this video very, very closely, as we're going to talk about all the pros and cons that I have found thus far with the Tobii Eye Tracker. And I got to tell you guys, there aren't very many cons. So let's go ahead and get started. How we're going to break this down here first, I'm going to talk to you guys about the unboxing. I didn't show the unboxing today, and you'll understand why here in just a minute. So we're going to talk about the how it was packaged. Then we're going to talk about the setup process and installation of the Tobii Eye Tracker and some gotchas that you're going to want to make sure that you're aware of. And then we're going to talk about some configuration within the settings. You guys are going to get to see the tracking in action, as there is an ability where you guys will actually be able to see on screen where my eyes are looking, so that will be a nice benefit for you guys as well to see how the functionality of it actually works. And then we're going to be able to see the live experience within inside of Microsoft Flight Simulator today. But we're not going to just talk about Microsoft Flight Simulator, but that is the primary focus. So let's go ahead and move on and talk about the unboxing. I'm going to go ahead and just leave the sweepstake information up, guys, while we talk about that real quick, because there really isn't much to talk about here. As you guys saw in the entry video, or the start of the video here, you guys saw where it was mounted. It's a very nice plastic clip system that simply mounts to the bottom of your monitor. Now, it is really critical that you guys hear that: the bottom of your monitor. It cannot be top mounted. It must be mounted to the bottom of your monitor, and it comes up at an angle to your eye level. That has to do with the effectiveness of the tracking. The installation process takes a matter of minutes, truly. One of the things I like is that the mounting bracket itself mounts to the monitor with just some simple adhesive double-sided tape. Now, one of the things that I did not listen to, I got in a rush when I set mine up. I was being impatient, so I'm going to call it out like I say it. When you put your mounting bracket on, okay, you want to wait about 24 hours before you actually mount the Tobii device to the bracket. You want to make sure the adhesive has enough time to cure. If you don't wait, like yours truly didn't, it will start to sag and pull away from the monitor from the weight. But I just simply took some other 3M double-sided tape and stuck it back up there, and everything's been fine ever since. Now, what actually holds the Tobii in place is actually a magnetic metal clip, which is really slick because it makes taking the Tobii on and off very, very easy, very, very simple. The installation is very nice. The other thing is, on the back of the plastic clip, there is actually an adjuster bracket, much sort of like a zip tie would work, where you sort of just pull it one direction, push it back the other way, and adjust it. And you can adjust it pretty significant angling depending on what your monitor position is in relationship to your eyes and your head. So that's actually a really nice system. Very, very simplistic, and yet it works and gets the job done. Once it comes time to install the software, we're going to get into the next page here. So let's go ahead and actually talk about that now here. All right, so to get rolling here, you're going to first start with the Tobii experience. This is going to be the software that actually gets installed and installs the drivers and everything that you need in order to start calibrating. You're going to go up to the settings cog up here, and here you're going to make sure the Tobii experience is turned on. From here, you can go to improve calibration. There's actually a really slick process here, and I'm going to see how well this actually conveys over the screen. Hopefully it works out really well, but it looks like it's going pretty well. And you can sort of see it's tracking my head and my eyes. Those are my eyes right there as I move my head. Now it's telling me to move a little closer, so there we go. Now check this out. So what it wants me to do is to stare at that blue dot. Now I'm going to stare at the one at the top, and I'm only moving my eyes. Bottom right, bottom left. Top left, bottom, top right. And I'm only moving my eyes. Very, very simple process. You can do this a few times. It enhances the calibration. From what I can tell, it seems like it gets better each time that I do it. And I really appreciate that. Now, one of the other cool things here I want to show you guys that's really awesome about this particular software is it has a really neat tool involved with it that allows you to actually see the tracking of your eyes. So, for example, if we do preview my gaze, let's go ahead and turn that on. And now, wherever that white bubble is what I'm staring at. So let's look at... It's really weird trying to do that. Let's look at the new. Down at the airplane sails. Focusing on the glider down there. Let's pick the guy holding his chin, the bottom left. Here we go. Set up display. This is how it tracks your eyes. And again, I am only moving my eyes. It was a little weird at first. I'm going to tell you that right now. It takes a little bit of getting used to just because it's like one of those like, what? And then the other very cool option that I really appreciate, I'm going to turn this off right now, but the other thing that I really appreciated about this particular software was the setup display. I have multiple monitors. I have 4 or 5 hooked up at the moment. And so you can actually tell it which display it's under. So that does help you as well to make sure that you get the best profile experience. Now, the other thing that's really awesome is you can actually create a new profile for multiple users. If you and someone else share the same computer and different heights, etc., and one configuration doesn't work well with the other, you have the ability to create other profiles, which is really slick. And very, very convenient. Now, one of the things that I really do also appreciate about this is I have tried this both with and without my glasses. I don't require glasses when I'm looking up close, so typically on the computer I don't need one, but as a test and to put it through its paces, I flew for about 2.5 hours last week with the glasses on, and it never once lost tracking or had any kind of issue with that. So glasses doesn't seem to be an issue with it. The other thing is low light, high light. I haven't had any problems. The only thing that I could tell you that I intentionally had to do, I had to create the scenario, but I have one of those stand-up lamps that's got the flexible arm in the middle of it, and I put that lamp intentionally directly behind my head and facing the Tobii Eye Tracker. It didn't like that very much, but some of that's to be expected. You're pointing a bright light at an infrared tracking source. So that's again, I had to go out of my way to create that scenario. But I have played with the lights on, the lights off, and the light coming from the monitor seems to be more than enough, and the reflection coming off my eyes seems to be perfectly fine with the configuration. It is a really, really well done system. The next piece of software I want to talk about for just a minute is the Game Hub. For example, you can see we have a couple of games that are already pre-configured to use with it. Now we're going to talk about these games here. Microsoft Flight Simulator is one of them. Star Citizen is another, where the Tobii Eye Tracker is already recognized by default by the game, so you can actually configure everything inside the simulator itself. We don't need to use any third-party app, but one app that I did have to use it with was DCS World. So in DCS World, for example, you do run into an issue where you have to use the Game Hub software here. But again, you just enable Tobii just like you would with Track IR or anything else, and you come through here and you configure your different settings from head position, rotation. You can change the responsiveness, how fast it moves. You can change you can limit the degrees at which it will move. You can set your center, your disable buttons, all the good stuff that you can do with Track IR. You can do this with Tobii. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this particular similar process because it is very, very similar to track IR in that aspect. Like here's the response curves that you can actually track, limits you can set, how far the camera will actually turn based on what your head movement is. Everything that you've seen in track IR, you've basically got it here as well. The advantage here is that with track IR, obviously you have to wear something, you have to have the camera, you have to have a head apparatus, you know, there are drawbacks there. So, and we are going to talk about the pros and cons between the two of these at the very end of the video. I'm not gonna keep that out, but I can tell you guys right now, I have only found one major con to it, and that was with DCS World, but we'll talk about that towards the end. So, with games that aren't natively supported, meaning that they don't have their own support, like we saw, oops, didn't mean to hit that. Like we saw, if we go back to installed games, no, that's not what I want. How did I get out of here? Back up, there we go. Games like Microsoft Flight Simulator, you do have the ability to use this with these as well. So now with that in mind, let's go ahead and see what this glorious piece of equipment is like in Microsoft Flight Simulator. So when it comes to setting up for Microsoft Flight Simulator, you're simply going to go to your options. Oh, let me stop you guys and give you guys a little caveat. If you have Track IR installed, if you have OpenTrack installed, or any other kind of head tracking software currently installed on your machine that has its own drivers, I recommend uninstalling them. Initially, I had the hardest time getting it to work. I could not get it to work. And remember before, I used OpenTrack. I didn't use Track IR, but I used OpenTrack. And as soon as I uninstalled OpenTrack, everything worked fine. It was both for DCS World and for Microsoft Flight Simulator. As soon as I uninstalled OpenTrack, it went away. And then I was able to reinstall OpenTrack after Tobii was successfully installed and working. So it's not that you can't have both. You just need to make sure that you remove it, get Tobii working, and then you can reinstall your software if necessary. So let's go to the options here for a second, and we're going to go over to the control options. And I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about here when it comes to Tobii. So we're going to come right over here, and there is Tobii. It has its own configuration inside of here. Now there's not going to be anything here, but where you're going to look is here. Here's all your sensitivity. Here's where I have all of my curves currently. You guys are welcome to check them out, but I do recommend that you set them to your own liking, as that some of these may change. But I will tell you that this is a pretty good place to start. It's nothing too dramatic. It's nothing too uncomfortable, but it works very, very well for me. Now there's a couple key bindings you're going to want as well. Let's go ahead and go find those. So we are going to, let's just go ahead and do a throttle. And there we go, cameras. Toggle head tracking, eye tracking reset. You guys are going to want to find these two commands, and I recommend binding them to your HOTAS, flight stick, whatever it may be, something that's very easily accessible. But at the end of the day, if you need be, you can just use your keyboard bindings as well. But you do definitely want to have these two bound, as they absolutely make a big difference in the ability to easily manipulate the camera when necessary. So let's go ahead and go back, and we're going to go to the world map, and we are going to do a little bit of flying around. Nothing too crazy. You guys have actually seen me using Tobii in the last few flight videos that I've done, both at St. Bart's and a couple, I think I did a test flight in the helicopter around Tucson here, which is where we're going to head, my hometown. So you guys have actually, some of you have probably already seen me using Tobii. I've been using it for the last couple of weeks exclusively, just to make sure that I really gave it a run for its money and a fair ride. Let's go ahead and let's see here. We need to pick an airplane. You know what? Let's go to my Mooney. We haven't flown my Mooney in quite a long time. So I'm going to get us into the onto the ramp, and then we're just going to go for a quick flight and let you guys see how this all works. All right, so now we're in the seat, and you guys can see that I have the ghost turned on, so you guys can see how I do things here. And any major movements, this is my head moving, obviously. And it works very, very well. You guys are going to hear the audio sort of go back and forth as I turn my head away from the microphone, so bear with me. But no issues whatsoever. Now, I still need to tweak some of the curves. Oh! Ouch! That hurt. Decided to kick my rudder pedal. That freaking hurt. Anyways. So, and now we're just going to move around just using the eye tracking. Now, this is how I have my curves set up. I wanted very light movement with just my eyes. I didn't want a lot of movement. But everywhere you see the bubble going is where my eyes are looking. And it's really nice when you're doing things like startup or just wanting to glance down at your gauges. So let's go ahead and get it going. Now, I am, even with my track IR, typically when it comes to engine startup and things like that, I will typically actually disable head tracking. But I want you guys to see that it's really actually quite effective. Let's crack the throttle, make sure to full. I'm not going to follow all of our startup procedures. I'm sort of just winging it for this one because I just kind of want to get things going. And my microphone's in the way, but you can also zoom in perfectly fine. I can move my head down. I'm doing my best to get you guys a part of all of this, so bear with me. It's kind of awkward having to move my microphone at the same time. But let's go ahead and get the engine started here. There's a good engine start. Avionics on. Barometric altitude set, or pressure I should say. Transponder on. And we're just going to do a quick circuit around Tucson International, just so you guys can see what the flight experience is like from startup to finish here. Am I missing something? Oh, there it goes. She's coming alive. Not like I use it anyway. I almost never use the Garmin on these aircraft. I like sort of just flying VFR, honestly. Oh, okay, fine. There we go. One more time. There we go. Okay. So now we're going to find our parking brake, if I can remember where it is. It's been a while since I've flown our beautiful Mooney. I feel a little low in the cockpit, though. And again, the little bubble, guys, is something that I have turned on so you can see what my eyes are doing. We'll fly with a little bit with it on, and then we'll turn it off. Ooh, look at the windsock. We actually get one left. That's nice. Much shorter taxi. If I could actually stay on the taxi line. And you can see the movements, if anything, they just make it a bit more natural. They're not obnoxious as my eyes move around. And you can change the speed at which that your eyes will react to it as well. But the tracking is very solid, guys. I have yet to run into an issue with it. I haven't had a single problem with the tracking as of yet. Actually, it would help if I turned on any of my lights, huh? Nav lights, beacon light. Might as well turn the strobe light on since we're here. Recog. Landing lights. All right. And you can change the responsiveness of your head, and you can actually disable the eye tracking completely, and just use it like a track IR where it just tracks your head, and it works great. Flawlessly. Like I said, primarily I like it with the head motion being required for large movements, and I use, just like you normally would. I just use my eyes for very light movements, and it makes it much more natural. Like I said, I still need to dial mine in a little bit more. It's the center spots that I don't like. You can see like right here. Okay, I'm sort of moving my head, and you can see it staying still, and then it snaps. I don't like the snap, but that's just configuration. That's just me adjusting things. So let's go ahead and power up. Airspeed alive. Flaps up. I honestly didn't need flaps for takeoff to begin with, but what's funny is with the ghost bubble on, you actually find yourself looking at it more than anything, and then you just end up chasing it all over the damn screen. It's actually kind of funny. Obviously, I haven't been using the ghost bubble very often, just for testing and stuff, so this is actually kind of annoying. Because I'm like, oh, look, it's over there. Oh, it's over there. Find the bubble. Find the bubble. But you guys can see the tracking is flawless. I mean, it's just flawless. And, just like with Track IR, I can disable it. So, like, now it's not doing anything. It's still tracking my eyes, but I've disabled the in-game tracking, so now it doesn't do anything. I'm going to turn it back on. The centering works great. All right, so give me a second here, though, because I think we are going to go ahead and turn this off for the moment. The thing I like about the Tobii Eye Tracker the most is it creates the movement in a way that it becomes much more natural. And not having to wear the headset is a major advantage. I cannot take that away. Not having to wear a headset is a big deal for me. I don't use earphones and things like that very often. I typically, the only reason why I wear a headset right now is because of Track IR. Now, I promised you guys that there was one thing that I had noticed that was a major flaw for me, but this is going to be very specific. So here's the 411 on that. The part that was very a major flaw for me in DCS world, if you are flying the UH-1 Huey, one of the things that you can do from the co-pilot seat is you can use the eye tracking system to move the main guns with the sight. That does not work particularly well, but the way around that is to simply disable eye tracking altogether and use it as a head tracking source only, and it works just fine. And for those of you who have flown the UH-1 Huey in DCS and used the co-pilot seat gunner optical sight, you know what I'm talking about. But that's the only thing that I've been able to find, guys. I have put this thing through the paces, and as far as I can tell, it works flawlessly for everything that I have tried to apply it to. I haven't had any issues. I haven't had any loss of tracking. I haven't had any problems with the software. I haven't had any crashes, any crashed desktops. And I've been at this thing for about 3, almost 4 weeks now. It might actually be a little bit more than 4 weeks. Like I said, the last few videos of mine that you guys have seen me flying, I was using the Tobii. I just kept that to myself for reasons. That was cool. That was a good landing. There we go. Let's bring it on in. All right. All right, let's bring this around here. We'll get clear of the taxiway. Okay. Let me just, very simple. Get those flaps up. I've been very, very impressed with the software. I've been very impressed with the capabilities of what it has. And I mean, if you guys have watched my channel for any length of time, I intentionally try to break things. I really do. Like I said, the only way that I was able to get it to lose tracking was by creating just a god-awful scenario for IR tracking. And to be completely honest, Track IR would have had a problem with it too. Having a giant bright light directly behind your head or the tracking source, it's going to mess any of them up. So that's just being fair here. This is a sponsored video, guys, so I'll give you guys that. It's a sponsored video, but again, you guys know me if you've been watching my channel. I don't pull my punches. I don't care what the deal is. And I just have nothing negative to say about it. I don't. I think the price point is very reasonable for what it's at. I believe it's right around $250 if memory serves. Of course, there will be a link to it down in the description if you guys want to go down and check that out. The sweepstakes that they're offering right now, 15% off. That's obviously going to reduce that. And then, of course, you guys have the option to actually win one if you go through all of those sweepstake options and get as many entries as you can here. It is a really, really slick piece of software. I can't deny it. The fact that many of the simulators and programs are now having native configuration or native support with it really says a lot about it. I am very grateful that I have this now. It was, again, I was very skeptical coming into it. I wasn't sure if I was going to like it. And then as soon as I got it up and rolling and started dialing in the configurations. Now, the one thing I will give you guys a couple tips on configuring it, and this goes for any software. What I will tell you guys is when you get down to, come on, that's why I hate using the in-game controls. It always takes forever to load. As you guys start getting into these, okay, what I would recommend, so for example, eye tracking responsiveness, this is what I was talking about, guys. If you set this all the way to 0, it disables it. Same with eye versus head tracking ratio. If you take this all the way up to maximum, it will disable the eye tracking and only use head tracking. And then obviously, as you further reduce this, eye tracking becomes more responsive. And then, of course, again, increasing this will do that as well. But if this top line is maxed, you're head tracking and head tracking only. Okay, so keep that in mind. And see, like this, the center stabilization, this is what I was talking about, that I need to adjust to work on that dead zone, that center dead zone. But do these one at a time is what I was going to tell you guys until you find your spot. Oops, I moved that. Do them one at a time. And reason being is just so that way you can get one axis. And this is how I do the same thing with Track IR too. And it makes a big difference. Get one axis done at a time if you guys decide to go this route. And it just because it makes it a lot easier to focus on one movement than more than one at a time, and it will make it a lot easier for you to really dial them in comfortably. So just in case, just a little friendly tip of someone who's been working with Track IR and head trackers, since very, very early DCS. My first one was the actual Natural Point Track IR 4 was my first time using it, and then moved to 5, and then my own, and then now the Tobii. Now, I promised you guys at the end of this, I would give you guys my comparison between Tobii and Track IR 5. They are both phenomenal. And not even Track IR 5. I'm going to say Track IR, sorry. Not Track IR 5, just Track IR. If you are tracking the 3 LEDs on the side of your head, with that are attached to your headphones. Being completely honest, they are both very, very good. The pros, I would say, to Track IR, the actual clips that you wear, the LEDs, would be depending on the IR signal, I think it still has a bit more refinement to your head movement. I think it's a bit easier to dial them in. And obviously, you don't have to worry about light source at all. Again, unless you put a lamp directly behind your freaking head like yours truly did, that's going to cause a problem. But one of the things that I really enjoy about Tobii is the lack of physical gear required. With Track IR, you need your head clip. You need your LEDs, you need a power source for your LEDs, and you need a camera that can actually track it. And then you need the software. This is all in one. You have one device sits under your monitor. You never have to worry about whether it's charged. You don't have to worry about, having the, if your, Track IR source breaks or anything like that, your head tracker breaks, whatever. You don't have to worry about any of that. The mounting system is very customizable. It's very well done. It's got a magnetic clip that simply attach it and you're off and going. Now, I will say that Tobii, because of the nature of how it works, required a bit more configuration, and playing around with it. But I think a lot of that was just nerves in the beginning because, again, it's something new, and like I said, I can't stress it enough. I was extremely skeptical going into this. I was very much so ready to not like this. I was expecting it to be a failure because of the nature of the lighting in my office and the way things work and having so many monitors. I just wasn't expecting it to work the way it does. Like right now, guys, I still have my Class Echo sitting almost directly in front of the Tobii, but the Tobii can pass through it, or not pass through it, but it can see there's still line of sight to me. I have my microphone, my Blue Yeti microphone in front of my face right now, which is also in the line of sight of the Tobii. And it just, nothing seems to be breaking its connection. Like, I really have to work at it, obviously, if I put my head way down. But again, that's the same thing with Track IR. If you point your head down, move away from the LEDs, you're going to have to reset it. The responsiveness is really impressive. I was really blown away, and the eye tracking is really what does it for me. That's the one, having that extra piece of just fine, of little refinement. And that's one of the things that always caused me, I will say, with Track IR, is I always found myself slightly angling my head down, you know, maybe 5 to 6 degrees, just a slight angle down, but I'd sit there the whole time, that way I could see the gauges. And then after a while of flight, my neck would get fatigued. Like, it's a stupid way to sit. Like, nobody should do that, and I know better. And when I catch myself, I'll straighten my head back out. The nice thing about Tobii's, I don't have to worry about that, because I just simply look down and I get that little movement that I was looking for. And that's why I made it a point to show you guys that in today's video. The refinement capabilities of it, the ability to use both eye and head tracking is a major game changer. It's a major game changer, guys. And again, not having to worry about having to wear earphones or some sort of hat clip or, you know, anything like that on your head to track it. It takes the weight off your head. That absolutely helps. And then B, it just opens you up for other immersion options, such as, you know, a nice speaker system, something like that, where you can really enjoy the sound around you. So there's pros and cons to both, but I really can't find a high strength between one over the other. I think it really comes down to preference, but Tobii is very, very good. I am very impressed with this, and it has been a pleasure to be a part of this review. I am very grateful for this, and I'm very glad that I agreed to do this. It's awesome. It's definitely awesome, guys. So anyways, as always, links to everything will be found down in the description below if you guys are interested in purchasing it. And also make sure that you guys check out the sweepstakes. What's the harm in checking one out, guys? You know, as far as the sweepstake options, you know, try to win something. Go for it. Get after it. And who knows, you might be able to win the Tobii itself. But if you guys are in the market for any kind of head tracking solution, or you're like myself and you're curious about it, it's absolutely worth it. It is a very, very well done piece of hardware that very much so surprised the crap out of me. It really did. It surprised me a lot. So to Tobii and the developers, absolutely wonderful job. Keep up the great work. This is a marvel in the simulation industry, and I'm blown away that it's come this far. Blown away. Anyways, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. As always, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you guys enjoyed the content. Ring that bell for notification of future content. Really helps us out here. And as every video, stay safe and healthy. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, folks.